Hi, Namaskaram. So, after a long, I'm back to the second video on the second subject of law and ethics, that is Group 1, Paper 6 of Intermediate. Kindly ignore some lights which are over there, but you can concentrate on the knowledge which I'm going to share right now about the Paper 6, Group 1, Law and Ethics. I have gone through our syllabus of this subject. It's very nice subject, I must say, and it's section 8 speaks about the commercial laws, having 30 marks. Then section B is about the industrial laws, having about 25 marks. Then again corporate laws for 35 marks and ethics for 10 marks. So all these laws are very much known to me, and I have learned these laws in the past. So I feel that I should be in a position to give you some tips, some idea, because I'm not the one who will tell you that this is the question which will come to the examination. You can study and find out that which are these questions can come in the examination. You have to study each and every law. Don't put anything to the option and leave it to to your fate, that if this doesn't come then you will be able to attempt all 100 marks. So you have to be very careful about learning the law and ethics paper as such. So before we actually start on various laws, etc., I would like to remind you about what we have learned last time about the section A, B, C, and D. And this time also, of course, for law and ethics, the pattern which has been given is also same: A, B, C, and D. And maybe this time you may find it little bit difficult, because law paper is always lot of writing, and maybe you may feel that there are more descriptive questions in law paper rather than anyone else. But then I will tell you, friends, that even though you are doing intermediate, you might have been still undergraduate, or few of them have started their studies for intermediate after their graduation. So you will find that this law paper is something which is very critical from uh, the conceptual understanding point of view. So you must understand each and every concept which is there in the law. For example, if you go to the Indian Contract Act, there are n number of concepts about what type of contract it is, or what are the rights of buyer, what are the rights of seller. So all these things you must be able to understand it conceptually. Then only you are in a position to uh, you are in a position to answer the question. So for example, I'll tell you, there is something called as a contingent contract. So what are all contingent contracts? That all you need to know and conceptually understand what is the meaning of contingent and what is the meaning of contract, and then understand totally that what is contingent contract, how it is dependent on various events, and etc. Next is quasi contracts, contingent contracts. Then that is all given in your book itself. So discharge of contract, right? So all these things are very critical. Conceptually, you must understand what is there in the law, what the law wants to say, or what law is being able to talk to you. So if you understand those things, it is easier to solve your question paper, because this kind of question paper, especially section A and section B, are meant for the subject of law and ethics. So why it is like for more or less for the law and ethics is that if you go to the section A, if you go even to the question paper which is there of section A, you will find that there are a number of questions which has been asked, which are very precise, and which will ask you a specific, maybe a section in the law, or maybe a specific concept in that section. So all these things you have to understand it conceptually, that what is the law is saying and what is the meaning of this questions as such. So for example, I will tell you that yes, yeah. So for example, I'll tell you that a director may be elected by the small shareholders upon a notice by not less than 1000 small shareholders, one tenth of the total number of shareholders. Next is not less than 1000 shareholders, or one tenth of such shareholders, whichever is lower, 1/10 or 1,000 small shareholders. So if you go through the options, you will realize that few options. So for example, last option, 1/10 or 1,000 small shareholders. So that is not possible. Whenever you go to a law or a legal terminology or whatever the way laws are framed, it will not give such an open-ended, open-ended answer to your question. So, for example, who will elect or who will select the director may be elected by the small shareholders. So the answer cannot be open-ended 1/10 or 1,000 small shareholders. So it has to be either whichever is less or whichever is more. Whichever is more is of course not possible in this case since it is a certain limit. So it is very understanding just by looking at the answers, just by looking at the options given to you, you should be able to choose that option number 3 in this specific case, not less than 1,000 small shareholders or 1/10 of such shareholders, whichever is lower, should be the correct answer. So, in the section A, what I mean to say is your understanding of a specific law is going to be very, very important. For example, I'll tell you the my students will ask me that, sir, from where we get the practice of these questions. I've given you that option last time also, to think about it, to motivate your teachers, to motivate your friends, pass out students, to collect the questions of this kind, that one liner questions or similar to that, and that can be opened up for for the sale or something like that, whatever business opportunities my young cost accountants or maybe those who have into those kind of tuitions, they can try to do it. But those who are really interested and want to see what is there in the questions and how will you solve, I will give you one small example. Now this book is my limited insolvency examination question bank. I don't know whether you can see it exactly in the same thing, right? So this is limited insolvency examination question bank, and here you will find that in that book most of your laws are covered. So for example, of course this is limited insolvency, so insolvency and bankruptcy code is prominently over there, but in the market you will definitely find similar kind of books. So for example, Companies Act and partnership firm, limited liability partnership. So these chapter 27 and chapter 28 spreads from 617 to 665. So you see almost 50 pages it goes through. Indian Contract Act from 665 to 715. So it also goes through about more than 50 pages. Only MCQ type of questions which are covered over there. I had one more book on the same thing. This one is for the limited insolvency examination guide. So there also I had a lot of collected all these questions which are related to Indian Contract Act or whatever, Sale of Goods Act. So all these acts which you have been doing and understanding. So these questions were covered. MCQ type of questions are covered over there. So if you get opportunity, see, these laws are not changing overnight, or rather these laws are quite old and they are very stagnant, and there are no changes in the law. So better you go to some person who is Raddiwala. You go to him, that Raddiwala, and try to find some books wherein you will get MCQ type of questions on all these laws. So there must be some type of in the other examination also, these laws has been asked. So for example, Sale of Goods Act, Negotiable Instrument Act, Indian Partnership Act, Limited Liability Partnership Act. Then in the Companies Act you have section 1 to section 122 of Companies Act. Then lot of things related to the directors are also covered in the Companies Act 35 mark corporate law. So all these things you must be able to get through those MCQs. You must understand those MCQs. You must solve those MCQs, and then you should be in a position to answer confidently about the section A and section B. So my best wishes to you for section A and section B in the law examination. This law examination, I will tell you that again what I've told you earlier also. If you are able to get somewhere about 30, 35, 40, you get very good. But then even if you're still confident about getting 30, 32 marks in examination in that specific 50 minutes, again there is a limit of 50 minutes for section A and section B. So if you get that opportunity to crack this 40 marks very nicely, then if you are able to get 30, 32 marks, then you are in a definitely good position to appear for the next set, that is section C and section D, very confidently. And it is really very nice that you are in a position to do so. So for that purpose, you definitely have to learn all the laws. Don't keep anything in option, right? So how do you learn the law or act, to be precise, to be precisely, is you go through the each and every section of that act. You read that act once. You can take down your own notes also if required to be. You feel that you are confident of writing notes. Yes, again, with the advancement of technology, you can use only the Word files or the Excel files for making your notes. If you say that I don't have computer and this and that issues, you make it with the pen and paper, doesn't matter. Because ultimately what is important at the time of examination is choosing that option for section A and section B, and whatever about the section C and section D will cover later on. But for the section A and section B, understanding of these laws, not necessarily that you make the notes only on the pen and paper, you can make the notes on the computer also. So to read this act very thoroughly, right from the beginning to end, you try to solve some questions on that act, and then you close this chapter for the time being. Then you read some other acts, and then again after a few days you come back to this specific act. So for example, negotiable instrument act. So that is a specific act. So you read it once. It's a good small act, some covering few sections here and there, whatever are the important sections you know by now. You can go through your study module to know what are all important section of all the acts, for that matter. So if you go through the negotiable instrument act, you will find that there are some sections. So read, note, take your own notes, understand which are all important sections. As such, study something else, some different, and then after 10-20 days you come back to the same act, and then you learn that act, and then at that point in time your memory will play a lot of role. And many of the people, you say that we want to study all these acts just before the examination, one day prior to examination. If you follow my methodology, you did not study even a day before. So what you have to do is learn one act, take some break, do some different work, different kind of subjects you take, and then again come back to that specific act. So you don't consider this as a whole subject. You have to divide it into various acts, and then according to those acts which are simple, which are important, you need to identify and resolve them first in that first portion, and then again come back to those acts as what I told you. So if you do this kind of exercise, maybe 3 times is good enough for you to first time very good, nice, lengthy reading. Then second time you just have to remember, or you just have to go through the important parts of the act. And then third time it is just a cursory look. You can go through all the sections of that act. I assure you that if you are really kind of a legal person who understands the law, then you are in a definitely a good position to actually understand what is there in that act or a law. Of course, there are not much of the case laws or the decided case laws before various honorable courts has been covered. I don't think so it is covered in your syllabus. So it is only plain reading of the act. If you there is one more way of understanding the law, understanding various acts, is to understand what are all judgments given in that act, right? So if you read newspapers, you read Business Times, Economic Times, Financial Express, those kind of things, there you will definitely find some of the clauses of the act which you have read has been enumerated in some of the news item, which you will realize that, oh yes, you have read that act, and that is where somewhere the reference has been given. Especially with the Companies Act or LLP and Partnership Act, this happens that one or two news you definitely find in those good business papers, that this act has been established and court has given this judgment, or court has given this judgment because of this section, then this company has taken this action on this, something like that. So all these things you will definitely be able to read and recollect. The application of what you have read is something which is important. Once you have read that, once you are through with those various sections and various acts as such in your syllabus, I am sure that the section A and section B is not a problem to you. Again, I am telling you that you have to read all the acts. Don't keep anything in the option. If you keep anything in the option, it's going to be really very tough. So you have to read all the acts. You have to ensure that you read all the acts at least 3 times before going for the examination. And then having done this, I assure you that you will not get less than 30 marks in your section A and section B. So when you get 30 marks minimum, you can get 40 also. So when you get 30 marks in the section A and section B, and that confidence is been gathered on the 51st minute, of your question paper, then definitely I guarantee you that your next question paper will also be going to be really very good. It's of course universal law, it's universally applicable to all the papers, but especially in the law paper, because you know that what you are going to do in the section C and section D is something which is maybe little bit more of the typing, which many of you are accusing institute that are we a typist or something like that or whatever it is. But then again, I am telling you that you have got ample of time, that is 2 hours and 10 minutes to get through this section C and section D. So you have lot of time. Even if you don't have a practice, I don't think so that any one of you will be, just trying to find where is A, where is D, where is F, where is L on the keyboard. If you are going to be that level, then it's going to be tough. But I am confident that either of the places, somewhere at the computer coaching places or somewhere at the institute oral coaching centers, or nowadays we have mobiles and so many things we have. So we know a general QWERTY kind of a keyboard. We know how the where are the keys and what are all important things which are there. So that should not be a problem at all to you. You have to just increase the speed a little bit. I'm not saying that you want to be you become typist or you go first to some kind of a typing class and learn the typing. That is not at all necessary. That is not at all necessary. As what I told you earlier also, even if you take the notes on your mobile phone, even if I go to the mobile phone, I know there are many things wherein I can actually use this QWERTY kind of a keyboard, and then improve my understanding that where are all other keys, and I should not be finding out to understand where is the spelling, what is the spelling of that. And you can take the notes on your mobile phone, you can take the notes on the computer, etc. So that will help you to improve the speed automatically, and being favorable with the being familiar with the your keyboard and everything. So just get those things done. According to me, that is not very difficult for section C and section D, because if you go to section C, let me go to the section C directly now. Yeah, in your question paper, section C. So section C says you are required to answer any 4 questions out of 6 in this section. So as what we know, that's a normal pattern in the earlier question, or in the earlier paper also we have seen the same pattern. 10 into 4, 40 marks. So that means every question belongs to the 10 marks. And then that is where some of the typing skills may come into picture. However, I assure you that if you write to the point, if you write with specific bullets, or maybe with the numbers, Roman or otherwise, if you write it to the precise, to the point, whatever is been asked in the question, I don't think so that you will require any kind of typing speed. Even if with the normal typing speed, you should be able to finish your section C and section D. Currently we are focusing only on section C, so whatever time you think allotted, maybe 1 hour or little bit more than 1 hour to section C, and if you say you have to solve 4 questions, so each question may get about 15-20 odd minutes for each question. So within that 15-20 minutes, you are definitely in a position to answer all these 4 questions rightly, thoroughly, very nicely, and you should be able to score marks into that. But only point is, you have to answer it what on the basis of whatever has been asked to you. You just don't keep on saying just because you want to attempt the question and say whatever you want to say. Don't do that, because that will not help you in the law kind of examination. So for example, one question which has been asked over here about the 4A, sorry, it's a 4 part of the 4A section 3, 3 is for 6 marks, I guess. Yeah, so A part 6 marks, B part 4. So 4A is for 4 marks. So I'll just, for the benefit, I will read that question for you. A draws bill on the B and A draws bill on B. B accepts the bill without any consideration. The bill is transferred to C without consideration. C transfer it to D for value. Decide whether D can sue the prior parties of the bill. To whether the prior parties other than D have any right of action intense. Give your answers in reference to the provisions of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. So if you read the question, it has a specific question whether D can sue the prior parties, and the second question which talks about whether prior parties other than D have any right for the action intense. So you have to answer very particularly yes or no, and why it is yes, then give explanation to the yes. Let's not say that tomorrow if D transfers to E, or maybe A has sold it for some consideration. Let's not go into that at all. You have to be very specific in giving those answers, and if you give those answers, your answer should not be very even lengthy, whatever has been given over here. And even if that lengthy is there, still you should be able to finish it within the given time limit of 15 minutes. If your thought process is right, if your thinking is toward right direction, then you should be able to get the answers for those questions also, and should be getting lot of marks also about whatever answers you have provided if they are to the point. Correct. Now the next question, if I take, there is a very simple question which has been given about the Indian contract at 1872. So how it goes to, if you see 6A question, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. So 6A question, Mr. X businessman has been fighting a long-drawn litigation with Y, another businessman. To support his legal campaign, Mr. X enlists the services of Mr. Z legal expert, stating that an amount of INR 10 lakhs would be paid if Mr. Z does not take up the brief of Mr. Y. Mr. Z agrees, but at the end of the litigation, Mr. X refuses to pay. Decide whether Z can recover the amount promised by Mr. X under the provision of Indian Contract Act 1872. Right? So all these type of question, the answers are simple, but only thing is we have to be to the point. Just because they are simple, let's not put everything in the writing, because now the focus will be on the bullet points. The focus will be on giving precise answers, especially in this section C. And remember, my friends, that when any teacher who is already correcting section A and section B, he is habituated with these two sections wherever he is correcting those papers online, offline, or whatever mode he is doing it. He is used to with understanding that what is precise answer in section A and section B. That is what he will expect from you in section C also. So there you have to be very focused. You have to be to the point, and then let's not run after that. Only typing is needed to answer this kind of question, especially in the law paper. So that is all about the section C. Let me go to the section D now quickly. Yeah. So here it is. Section D is again as what, same, two case studies of 10 marks each. You are required to answer all the questions in these sections. Each question is followed by space. We are required to type the answer. 10 into 2 is equal to 20 marks. So the point here is you don't have an option. You have only option in one section, and which is you have to choose it very carefully, that it should not be a lengthy, it should be simple questions. So out of those 6 questions, 4 questions you have to choose really to the point, that these questions very well. So the focus of the institute will always be there, to select a candidate, to pass a candidate who is understanding what is his knowledge, and that exhibition of knowledge he should be able to do that in the examination, especially the section C. So if you go to the case study number, that is question number 9 and question number 10, I will not read, these are very long questions, but I will tell you my experience in limited insolvency examination, that this kind of case studies can also be a kind of a MCQ questions. So it is not exactly that what it may be a very long lengthy case study, but then ultimately the answers in the law of this kind of a case study should be of the MCQ in the nature only. So you have to say yes or no, or this is my point and this is what is the small explanation for my point which has been given. That is what is expected in the case study. What is not expected in the A and B, that is what is expected in case study, that you say this is my particular answer and this is the reasoning, because ultimately you will get marks for your reasoning, your analytical thinking, the way you apply your knowledge about the legal law or the acts which has been put up in your syllabus. So my best wishes to you for the law and ethics examination. This was all about the group 1 paper 6. So if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, kindly do let me know. My email ID is ashishpthatte@gmail.com, ASHISHP for Pune, THATTE@gmail.com. Maybe I'm not very good at your YouTube and everything. So last time the video which was uploaded by me, I got moderate response on that video, but I could not get even a single comment, because while uploading the same I made some kind of errors while uploading, and then the comments were off. So that's why I'm giving you my mail ID, that ashishpthatte@gmail.com. If you have any questions regarding law and ethics paper, I will definitely answer to your questions. I may not answer to all the phone calls because that is going to be very difficult with my schedule as such. But then definitely, small kind of answers. Definitely, if you put any questions, any query regarding to actual academics of your question paper, I am not going to give you any insider information. I don't have also. That's a different case. But then I'm not going to give you any insider information. No hidden information will be given to you. That there are ample of sources. You have to get that. My only concern is your approach towards examination, your approach toward this kind of a paper pattern, and to pass the examination. That is what is expected from you. And I want my students to study very hard and ensure that they pass the examination. So all the best once again to all of you. I hope today while uploading this video, I should be able to switch on my comments. If not, then as what I told you, that you can put up your comments on the send me an email on ashishpthatte@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Take care.